One of the scenarios where vibe coding shines the most is certainly in the prototyping phase of a project. Not that you can't make production-ready applications using vibe code with the correct amount of knowledge and attention, but when it comes to the early stages of development, vibe coding can make the whole process easier, faster, and more enjoyable. So here on the background, you can see that I have many user and project rules in place to make sure Cursor is coding like I would, following the same guidelines and standards that I would. And that's pretty much to narrow down as much as possible the chances of the AI deviating or going directions I don't want to have it going to, especially for outside service and design patterns. And talking about design choices and patterns, one of my MDC rules that I consider one of the most important ones is the UI styling rule, because here I define visual reference, color schemes, buttons appearance, overall arrangement of components, and so on. So I really make a blueprint of how I want my app to look and feel like in the end. And oh boy, does this save me a lot of time in the styling department. And that's without mentioning that it also helps keeping the visual consistency throughout the whole project. I also have some MCP servers set up here to ensure Cursor has smooth access to tools and knowledge bases, and I'll add more as I go, like recent, for example. But for starters, these are my go-to servers that I must set up right from the beginning. But now, finally, it's time for hands-on, and I always start by feeding Cursor my project PRD, and I ask it to, based on it, to create a couple of helper documents containing different types of info on the structure and functionalities of the app. And these documents are not only for us little humans, but also for Cursor itself to always know what's going on in the project and where you're at. Now that Cursor knows what's working with, I like to get the DB tables out of the way. So I just go ahead and ask Cursor to plan mode all the tables for me, and depending on the project, I already add my own structure for the tables on the PRD, so Cursor just looks into it and applies it. And that's actually what I did here. So Cursor just planned everything else from schemas to triggers and the actual migration. Now let's actually create something, and my portfolio website starts on the About Me page. It's the landing page. And again, this is just a first idea, so I might change my mind in the future. I just want to see how it's going to look like. And like I said, that's the beauty of an application like Cursor and vibe coding. It gives you a quick way to bring ideas to life, and it can place you almost halfway there to a final product, depending on how much time you're willing to invest on talking to Cursor and polishing this idea. So now I have everything in place finally, and I did my homework of communicating to Cursor my ideas and intention. And so getting my page created is as easy as saying, hey, I want this page and it must have this or that. And if you use plan mode, you can actually iterate back and forth through the AI. And a lot of times the AI will give you good suggestions that complement your initial idea really well. So you can play with that a bit. And when you decide that the plan is looking good enough, you can just go ahead and apply it. And if you take a look on the browser, you can see that right from the get-go, we already got something that looks quite good. This is pretty much the visual that I had in my mind. So now comes the adjusting step, because even though this looks fine, we can always improve it. So I want to make some small changes to the arrangement of the navbar here on the top. I want to bring the tabs closer to my name. So we can just do that real quick on the chat and check in on the browser. Yes. That's looking much better. Now here for the button to jump to my gallery, I like the overall appearance of the button, but I don't like this arrow inside of the button when we hover over it, because I think it makes the button look a bit too bloated. So I will actually have this arrow actually appearing on the outside of the button, right on top of it. So let's go adjust that. And here a situation happened that I think is worth mentioning. And sometimes the AI won't solve all the problems for you. So it's just faster to go ahead and deal with the problem yourself. So I just decided to remove the arrow from the button myself because cursor for some reason was struggling quite a bit to do it. So yeah, I just did it myself. And then I proceeded to ask cursor to add another bouncing arrow, this time outside of the button. And after some small adjustments, this is the final result, and obviously I will improve it over time, like changing the generic background to some photos of my artwork, for example. But all the main components are already here. Buttons are clickable, routing is done. So this is a really good foundation moving forward.